Hello, everyone.
Hi, Alex.
Hi, Anthony. Hi. We're just letting everyone into the room.
Good
So we'll
afternoon.
just give it a minute. Hi, Anne. Pritika, how many do we have in the room so far?
44.
Super. Okay, we shall make a start. So, hello, everyone, and welcome to ISWP's first annual general meeting. I'm Alex Kamadou, and I'm honored to be serving as ISWP's first executive director, which is a role I assumed in October 2022. This has been a very active 1.5 years, and I'm pleased to preside over today's meeting. I was planning to say welcome in all the languages you see in front of you, but I realized that we would have been here all day. So I will skip that part. We are very thrilled to have you with us today. I think you might have heard the message at the beginning. This AGM is being recorded in line with our procedures. And based on the information in terms of the registrations, we had about 167 ISWP members that had registered to attend today's AGM. But first, some housekeeping items. All members are automatically on mute and videos are disabled, but I do see some people have switched them on. All members are automatically welcome to put in any questions or comments through the chat box. From the registration information, we know that we have a very broad global representation today from our membership, and we are very grateful for this. On the slide, you see the agenda. So we have a very packed and comprehensive list of items to go through today. This is our very first annual general meeting. So we are hoping to get through all the items today as we have programmed. So we will start off with our guest speaker, Anthony Dutine, who's the WHO Technical Lead for Rehabilitation. We will then go on to the election results, followed by the financials, and then we will run through the accomplishments of the organization and some outgoing chairman remarks. And then we'll have a little bit of time for open discussion and any other business. And then we will adjourn. So our guest speaker today is Anthony Dutine. Anthony is the technical lead for rehabilitation at the WHO based in Geneva. This is a position he has held since April 2024. And in this role, he's responsible for leading the WHO's work to advance rehabilitation within health systems globally. And this includes implementation of Rehabilitation 2030 work, development of technical products and communications, and the WHO-hosted World Rehabilitation Alliance. Anthony previously worked as the Regional Advisor for Disability and Rehabilitation at the Pan American Health Organization. And prior to that, he worked with Humanity and Inclusion for 7 years in various international contexts. Anthony will be presenting updates on Rehabilitation 2030, the World Rehabilitation Alliance, and opportunities for ISWP to collaborate. Welcome, Anthony.
Thank you so much, Alex, and hello to everybody. I just want to check that you can see the screen that I'm sharing right now.
Yes, we can, and we hear you loud and clear.
Excellent, thanks. And thank you so much for the invitation today. It's a great pleasure to be here. And I think looking at the names of participants, I know several of you, and good to see you again. And for those that I don't yet know, I look forward to meeting you at some point in the future, and hopefully not too distant future. So as Alex mentioned, I'm the technical lead for rehabilitation, and I started in that role about a year ago, having come from the Pan American Health Organization. And I want to go through today a little bit of what's happening in Rehabilitation 2030. Some of you may have seen this already. I hope that a lot of you are familiar or at least aware of Rehabilitation 2030, how that connects or doesn't connect with the Rehabilitation Alliance. And so I'll go through what the difference is between Rehab 2030 and the WRA. Again, some of you may know that very well or heard of that and wondered about what that involves. And then lastly, sort of finish off by thinking of what could be opportunities for ISWP moving forwards. I expect I'll be about sort of 20 minutes or so, 20, 30 minutes. And excuse me, I'm just recovering from a cold, so I might stop to cough occasionally. Just to say, within the WHO structure, rehabilitation sits within a team and a unit called Sensory Functions, Disability and Rehabilitation. Previously, you may have been aware that disability and rehabilitation were quite connected and merged, and actually now is two separate programs, one on disability and health equity, really focusing on Article 25 of the CRPD and really looking at the barriers and obstacles and health inequities that people with disabilities face. And then rehabilitation really focuses on strengthening rehab for all people in health systems. And that's the area that I lead on. And the other two teams are the sensory functions teams, the vision and the hearing teams, who we work really closely as well. And that's all led by Alarcos Cieza, who many of you probably know, who's here up on the left. And this is the rehabilitation team as it stands today, from headquarters. So a team of fantastic sort of professionals and a variety of experience from around the world. And we're really lucky to have expanded over the last few years as Rehab 2030 has grown. And then, of course, we're supported across the 6 regions of WHO by the regional advisors, a position that I formerly had in the Americas, and then regional advisors in the positions in the Euro region, in the African region, in the EMRO region, which is the Eastern Mediterranean, in the Southeast Asia region, and in the Western Pacific region. So we work at headquarters through those regional offices to reach out to the countries around the world. Within WHO and then the rehabilitation program, we currently have some really good and strong partnerships. And I wanted to start with this because we're sort of thinking about where potentially ISWP could connect. And 9 of those are what we call collaborating centers, tend to be academic institutions or departments within academic institutions, focusing particularly on research and evidence, but not exclusively. And then 10 organizations in what we call official relations. And I'll talk a little bit later about what that entails. And then many, many different joint initiatives, contracts, actions, joint collaborations happening in various different types around the world. You may hopefully have been aware that about a year ago, the World Health Assembly, which happens every May, which is the global meeting of ministers of health and of health sector from around the world, met together. And one of the items up for discussion was a resolution on rehabilitation. This was the first ever rehabilitation resolution, or a resolution exclusively focusing on strengthening rehabilitation. There has been a resolution on assistive technology in 2018 and one on disability in 2022, but a new one on rehabilitation was passed, thankfully, last year. And that's given a bit of momentum and has given a little bit of a strong initiative to really sort of push forwards on strengthening rehabilitation across health systems. But of course, that wasn't where things have started on. And certainly the history of rehabilitation to WHO spans back many, many years. And just going back to sort of recent memory, it was the launch of Rehabilitation 2030 in 2017, where we focused on 10 areas for action, calling for better integration and better connection of rehabilitation within health systems everywhere around the world. And they focused on these 10 areas that are highlighted in orange in front of you. So around leadership, around planning, around integration, integrating rehabilitation into universal health coverage, around strengthening service delivery, building the workforce for rehabilitation, which is obviously something really important to you at SWP, expanding the financing for rehabilitation, health information systems, research, and then networks and partnerships. So really trying to cover 10 areas and building action plans out for each and every one of those areas to support countries to strengthen their rehab sector. And I mentioned universal health coverage, and for those not familiar with that, universal health coverage really is a major target of the WHO and of many health systems globally, which aims to provide high quality essential services according to the national need, and protecting people from financial hardship. So one of the essential services that's defined within that area is rehabilitation. So already we have a definition that rehabilitation should be included in universal health coverage, but very often it's not yet included as a core component of UHC. So that really imbalance needs to change and must grow. And I want to emphasize as well, rehabilitation changed the narrative a little bit to sort of really talk about rehabilitation for all. Many people around the world, and I'm going to show you a figure in a moment, require rehabilitation at some point in their lives. In fact, almost all of us will require rehabilitation at some point. So we really want to emphasize that this is not a service for one unique group or a specific person with a type of health condition, but could be for anybody at any stage of their life that may require rehabilitation. And the emphasis is on timely and quality rehabilitation services for all who need them. And this is really sort of been the strong message, and aligns with the message on assistive technology as well, that assistive products, assistive technology are for all who require them across the population. And in the program, we sort of really focus on three broad areas: evidence, capacity, and supporting countries. And under evidence, we have done a number of initiatives, but you may be aware that in 2020, we launched a paper in the Lancet that really calculated the number of people with a health condition, with one of 25 health conditions, for which rehabilitation may be important at some point across the course of that health condition. And that total number came to about 1 in every 3 people. 2.4 billion people around the world have a potential need for rehabilitation. That means that they have a health condition today, and that health condition may indicate rehabilitation at some point. And yet we also know from reviews that we've done that much less than 50% of people in many places are actually able to receive the services that they require. So a huge imbalance, a massive need, and a growing need, and a major imbalance in terms of the number of people who are able to access that. And all of this should not be unfamiliar to you all working in the wheelchair sector. This is very similar narrative to the assistive technology agenda, and I know very similar to the needs of people requiring a wheelchair as well. So, but it has been a bit of a milestone to be able to actually put a figure on that, and has really been a bit of a game changer for us to be able to then estimate, and we can really estimate down to the per country level of how many people in a country may have a condition for which rehabilitation is amenable. That data is from 2019. We've just received in the past couple of weeks word from the Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation, who lead on this data collection, the global burden of disease data collection, that they now have updated data ready for us. So we're in the process of updating those figures, and hopefully we'll get that to you in the next few months with a new and updated version of that 2.4 billion figure. So around creating capacity, and I'll dwell on this a little bit longer because this has been a real core aspect of Rehab 2030 over the last few years. And it's really been about developing products and developing tools and supporting countries to implement those tools in order to strengthen their rehabilitation sector. And broadly, we sort of try and map those areas of Rehab 2030 and the building blocks of a health system. So we sort of have tools that look at building leadership and governance, and particularly the guide for action for rehabilitation. One's around information systems, and a guide that we have for information systems, for financing, for workforce, and I'll dwell a little bit on workforce in a moment when I present it a little bit more in depth. Service delivery, emergencies, and of course, although the assistive technology team and work is not part of the rehabilitation program, the two go hand in hand with one another, and assistive technology cannot advance without a rehab sector, and likewise rehabilitation sector can't strengthen without a strong foundation of assistive technology. So a lot of the products that you're familiar with, and particularly the wheelchair standards and the APL list, we use in our everyday work as well for rehabilitation, and so really synchronize our work together with the assistive technology team. One of the key tools that was launched in 2019 that you may have heard of, and if not, welcome. This is an introduction to the Guide for Action, which is a four-phase process to really help a country to assess, plan, measure, and implement rehabilitation strengthening activities. So the assessment component is called a STARS assessment, a situational assessment of rehabilitation, where we do a deep dive with the Ministry of Health and other key stakeholders to look at what data is available, and then really look at the gaps of what not's available to assess the situation as it stands today on how rehabilitation is in the country, both from a coverage point of view, looking at those building blocks, from a policy, from a financing point of view, from a workforce point of view, from a products and technologies point of view, on the slightly lighter side. And this complements the ATAC, the assistive technology capacity tool that has been developed as well. And in many countries, these two have been implemented together, the ATAC and the STARS. So at the end of that process, a major maturity model is applied, a scoring, if you will, where countries look at different components of the rehabilitation system, 50 components that they look at, and score where they are in relation to their maturity along that score, between 1, which is that area hasn't yet been developed or hasn't been started, through to 4, where it's running pretty maturely and independently by now and has been well established. And so the countries score across those 50 areas, and it really helps to identify the key areas that need to be focused on to develop a strategic plan. And that's the next step. The GRASP is the strategic planning process, where a country will then put step-by-step approaches to develop a strategic plan and assign a number of indicators to that. So the orange on the left there, the rehabilitation indicator menu, is a menu of about 40 potential indicators that a country can choose based on which matches best the plan that it is set out. We suggest they select between 8 and 12 indicators that they can use, certainly not all 40. Otherwise, everybody would just be measuring and not doing. And so sort of collecting a number of indicators to track progress and that are relevant for the context and the plan that they've developed. And then, of course, the last stage is the most important one, bringing everybody together. The stakeholders are going to be involved in helping to sort of work over the next few years and the duration of that plan in order to work together to be all synchronized. Hopefully under the guidance and leadership of the Ministry of Health, but certainly not saying that they are the only implementers, recognizing rehabilitation cross-cuts into different sectors, into education, into social services, and is often delivered by NGOs, by faith-based organizations, by the private sector, and many other groups as well. So helping everybody to sort of really get on the same page with a plan and come together to sort of work towards, so that everybody sort of sees where their role is and can play their role as well. So that's the Guide for Action, and we've launched that in a number of countries now. Well over 50 countries have done at least one phase of the Guide for Action. Then health information systems has been a really important component of work to develop a product that can be integrated into national health information systems to measure rehabilitation. And this tool and this product has helped countries to begin to integrate and collect data on rehabilitation, which can potentially synchronize with DHIS2 software, which is a health system software that is used in many countries, but can also be used as a standalone tool to identify key facility indicators and also to guide on the analysis of those indicators. You know, we want people to be collecting information, but we want also people to be doing things with that information that they collect. And not just reporting on it, but thinking about what does that mean and what changes might they need to make in order to respond to some of that. So the information systems tool is out and available, as is this document, which is not so much a tool, but an orientation document, considering how rehabilitation is financed in many different settings. Financing is a bit the elephant in the room that nobody feels comfortable to talk about. And we found that the rehabilitation sector often didn't feel that they had the tools or the understanding of health financing that they felt confident enough to engage on. And likewise, health financing colleagues didn't really have much of an understanding about what is rehabilitation and what rehab financing looks like. So this document, which I'd really recommend to have a look at, is designed for both those stakeholders to really give an orientation about what is rehabilitation, for those who are already really well versed in health financing, and what is health financing for those who are really versed in rehabilitation, and what are different models in different contexts. Health financing doesn't look the same in every single context. So what different models are applied in different countries to finance the rehabilitation sector, from insurance schemes to national coverage to private sector and so on and so forth. I'm going to pause on this a little bit for the workforce, because I think this is probably a really important area for you all. So 2 workforce products have been developed. Hopefully you're aware of both of them, if not one or both. The Guide for Rehabilitation Workforce Evaluation is a really deep dive into assessing the workforce in a country. So where the STARS assessment does have a section on workforce, it's quite a light assessment because you're assessing everything in the whole context of rehabilitation in the country. The GROW tool really takes a deeper dive and looks at trends. It looks at migration. It looks at competencies. It looks at potential future forecasting and need, as well as many other different things. And it's a really deep tool to go into sort of what workforce approaches you might require in a country in order to strengthen out the rehabilitation sector in that context. And then the competency framework, which itself has 2 different components to it. One which helps for undergraduate and curriculum setting for newly training professionals to help look at what the needs are in the country and what might help guide and what the competencies may be needed for rehabilitation professionals in a country, as well as then postgraduate and support for those with continuing education needs, and being applied from centre level through to national level as well. We hear from universities, we hear from rehab centres that have used the competency framework in order to sort of help guide and look at what training requirements, look at what needs their workforce may have. And next, again, I want to go into a slight depth on this one, which is the service delivery component and the package of interventions for rehabilitation. And this is a product that many of you may have been involved in helping to shape, because hundreds, I haven't got the slide up when my colleague Alex presents it, but hundreds of people from all corners of the world help to contribute to this massive synthesis of evidence-based approaches for rehabilitation interventions across 20 conditions. And really that's to help ministries of health with their planning, to think about what types of interventions may be needed based on the needs in the country, the rehabilitation needs, and what types of material resources, such as assistive products or equipment or consumables, as well as human resources, thinking about the human resource requirements in order to implement evidence-based approaches for rehabilitation in a country. So really it's a planning tool. It can be used as a sort of somewhat of a clinical consideration, but really is a heavy planning tool, and countries have used it as such. And these are the 20 health conditions for which there is now a clearly defined pathway and guidance on the interventions for rehabilitation. And you can see musculoskeletal conditions, neurological conditions, cardiopulmonary conditions, neurodevelopmental disorders, sensory conditions, neoplasms or cancer, and mental health conditions as well. So I'm sure looking from the wheelchair perspective, you can see certainly those 2, the blue and green on the left, but probably several of the others as well, have probably high implications for the need for wheelchairs. And I just took a screen grab of one of the things. I think this was on Parkinson's disease in the neurological module, which again looks at mobility as a component, assessment of mobility, including wheelchair skills and mobility training, and provision of wheelchairs as well. So you see sort of smattered throughout the document is clear guidance on skills training, on wheelchair provision, as well as other assistive products, and as well as other obviously rehabilitation interventions. It's really quite comprehensive. And then a big focus of our work is around primary care as well, recognizing that the high amount of need is often at the community and primary care level. And so how do we ensure that rehabilitation services are potentially available at those levels, and to what degree and what approach should be taken at those levels, recognizing in many countries there's not enough rehabilitation workforce to really reach down to right through to all primary levels, as well as secondary and tertiary levels. So we have one document that was now developed a few years ago, and another in the pipeline right now, thinking about policy choices for primary care for rehabilitation, and what might be the best approach. And then on to emergencies and huge amounts of rehabilitation work in emergency settings, and a policy document that came out last year, which will be followed by a preparedness brief and a toolkit later on in the year about what countries can do to be ready for the potential of a mass casualty event. And of course, we're seeing around the world conflicts, disasters happening, which are creating huge surge in rehabilitation needs. I'm going to whistle through these a little bit quickly, but finally, in terms of supporting countries, since 2017, we've now calculated that 72 countries around the world have used one or more of those tools that I've presented to you just now, or have received some emergency response support from the WHO. And of those, we now have currently 53 activities. So a country may be doing 2 or 3 of those tools at the same time. So that's why the number on the right doesn't tally up to the total countries, but 53 countries around 53 projects are currently being implemented around the world, with 35 projects currently being planned, 29 that have sunset, and 7 that have been indirectly done, not through our support, but by other groups. And that's the ones that we've been directly involved in. We know that other groups may have been doing independent work as well, which is slightly more difficult to capture. And we also have 35 emergency medical teams with rehab capacity around the world. And then the rehab program has a number of new priorities coming up, really focused around implementing these tools in countries. There's a lot to do and a lot of work to be done. And then a number of different new technical products, which I won't go through today just from time point of view, but focusing on things like a basic rehab package for primary care, a screening tool for rehabilitation, a yes/no screening for rehabilitation, and then the primary care document that I mentioned as well. So a number of new activities that we're working on over the next couple of years, with a real focus to sort of increase as well the focus on communication. One area of interest as well is the agenda around musculoskeletal conditions, which isn't just about rehabilitation, of course. It involves prevention, promotion, treatment, and rehabilitation, but is an enormous area of importance for the rehab sector. And then in 2026, there will be a first ever baseline report for rehabilitation developed. So we've got our hands full in the program. Moving just quickly onto the World Rehabilitation Alliance, and this is an initiative that was launched just last year officially, and this is an advocacy initiative made up by member organizations, including ISWP, who are supporting and working together to develop advocacy messages and strategies to promote rehabilitation and to advance rehabilitation. So it really is an advocacy rather than an implementation initiative. With the WHO, with a host, with the secretariat of that, who oversees the administration, the management, and the membership. But really, the work is undertaken by the leads of the steering committee, who lead the different working groups, and then the 5 different steering committees that have been established. And I know Samantha Shan is here, and just to acknowledge, she is one of the leads of the workforce group, and does a fantastic job in that workforce group. And perhaps some others are here as well that are involved either in the WRA or chairing as well. So there's 2 chairs per co-stream, and there's 5 work streams: research, primary care, emergencies, workforce, and external relations, all working towards a work plan or working on a work plan to promote advocacy. And there's 2 co-chairs per work stream, and here they are. And you'll see Sam in the workforce work stream there. And of course, WRA is currently a member of the workforce work stream. We're really appreciative of the inputs you've had to that work stream. And the members contribute to at least 1 work stream is an expectation of joining the WRA, but could be up to 5 if there's the capacity to do so. And certainly last but not least, just to leave you with a sort of few thoughts from my side about ways of engaging, which Alex asked me to sort of do. So the partnerships on WHO are varied and can take various different forms. They can be national, they can be regional, they can be global, they can be contracts where WHO requests work to be done and pays for that work, or they may be mutual in that the organization does work on our behalf with no exchange of funding. So the contracts are very varied and cover different aspects. I gave 2 examples: training in a country or support for the development of a particular material. And then an NSA in official relations is a more official 3-year program. I mentioned we've got 10 at the moment, organizations like World Federation of Occupational Therapy, World Physiotherapy, Humanity and Inclusion, Handicap International are in official relations. And that is after there has already been a number of years of joint activities together and formal joint activities together, not including activities of the WRA, then that relationship may be formalized, which is where member states recognize the work and actually it's done through the World Health Assembly as a very formal sort of approach. And in that case, the organization generally bears the cost of the activities. So this isn't a WHO provides funding for X activity, but actually the activities agreed upon with the understanding that the organization would bear the cost for that. Then, of course, there's massive needs for advocating for rehabilitation, and that might come as part of the WRA. And if you're contributing to the WRA, again, thank you. But that might just be promoting things like I've presented today, promoting the tools and products, letting people know that the work is being done and about Rehabilitation 2030 in your countries, to your organizations, to others, and engaging with ministries of health and other stakeholders in your context about what are they doing on Rehabilitation 2030? Is there anything moving forwards? And lastly, work to strengthen rehabilitation, sort of as experts contributing to potentially one or more of those products that I mentioned before, if you have subject matter expertise. But also invaluable is to collect data and research to support the rehabilitation work. We want to have a really strong evidence base to the work, and we can only do that with a really strong data and research sector collecting evidence and allowing us to adjust as new evidence emerges and make new recommendations as that evidence emerges. So if you're working in that space, thank you again, and continue doing so, and let us know as new evidence emerges that we need to use in our programs. So that's all from my side. I think I just went slightly over my 20, but I appreciate the invitation today, and back over to you, Alex.
Thank you very much, Anthony. It's really exciting to see the terrific work that the WHO continues to do. And these tools are much needed and very comprehensive, especially as you mentioned, in this time where we are facing many humanitarian crises and things that are affecting people across the globe. But my takeaway from your messages was that if you don't measure it, you can't improve it. And I think this is really important, and I do hope that those on the call today do go and look out for those tools. And we look forward to collaborating with you. Okay, so next, I'm very pleased to introduce David Constantine. David is ISWP's transitioning chair and the current president of ISPO. David is very well known to ISWP and our members, having co-founded Motivation, which is the non-profit social enterprise. And these products, over 130 of them are used, many of these products are used in over 130 countries globally. David has over 40 years lived experience as a wheelchair user and 30 years of experience working in low-income countries. He has played an instrumental role in this new phase of ISWP, leading the ISWP forming committee and the founding board to enable it to become its own organization. David will now announce the election results, which is his last duty as board chair, and make some brief remarks. David.
Thank you very much, Alex. I was going to say, if we'd only produced 130 wheelchairs in 30 years, it would have been not very good achievement. Anyway, 130 different countries, yeah, more now, I think. Anyway, thank you very much. It's been a real honor and a pleasure working with ISWP and the team from Pittsburgh originally. And we're going to ratify today the results of the board elections, which you may or may not taken part in, and may or may not be part of, but this is our first formal board rather than the founding board, which was a sort of 3-year interim group that came together to really, get the organization put in place and all the bylaws and everything done before it was launched independently out of the University of Pittsburgh. But first, I'd just like to say we're here today, really, because when it started with the USAID funding, there were a number of key staff at the University of Pittsburgh who not only wrote their application, but also won the award, have done an incredible amount of work over and above their day jobs to get ISWP where it is today. And then sort of realized that, well, not only realized, but wanted to work to make that, make it independent from the university, which is, I think, really important for the sector, for visibility, but also for just independence of thought and so on. So in 2019, we had a forming committee, which I was part of, and I was asked to chair that for a year, which I did. And then we came on to the founding board, of which there were 13 of us in 2020 during the pandemic. Obviously, all this has been done online totally. And now then we formed a governance and nominating committee of 5 people, which I didn't take part in deliberately, in 2024. And that's got us to where we are today. We can move on. So you will have seen this, I hope, when you voted, or if you didn't. But this is the composition of the board, which we decided on with many a review and meeting to go really go through this to make sure we were getting the right mix of people for the board for the future. So it's 10 to 15 directors. You can read there the kind of people we want on it. And as I said, life is that you won't always get an exact number like that. So number 2 clearly states the board ideally reflects the directors from the 6 WHO regions, Africa, America, and so on. Each one has 1 vote. And so when you look at the board makeup in the future or now, you might say, oh, well, you've only got 3 directors representing relevant not-for-profit associations. That's because of the people that are nominated and the people who voted for may or may not make up that exact amount. That's what we aim to try and do every time there's a new election. So just so you're aware of that. So it started really, the selection process started with the committee in December 23. We came through to Jan 24 and we called for nominations into February. They orientated on the evaluation process and how that was working. February, March, evaluations completed and the committee met to finalize it. This is a subcommittee of the group who were on the board. And then candidate information was posted on the website and the voting was open for 3 weeks in March and April. And then today, 30th April, we're going to ratify those votes. So you're not voting today, you're ratifying. And so these are the results. And we're going to put an online vote up on the screen now. And if you can all take part, that would be great. We need, of the number of people on the call, which I can't quite see, but Critica's got the number. We need
65.
a 50. Okay, so we need a 51% majority that everybody wants to ratify this particular board that's been voted for. So if you'd like to go ahead and do that now with what's on your screen. It'll just take a moment to bring up the results, I mean. So if you're on the call, please do try and do this rather than just ignore it. I'll just give you all a minute to do that. And Kritika, I'll wait for you to tell me when you're ready.
So for now, we only have 20 out of the 64 participated.
Okay. Has anybody not voted that they'd like to, or are they having troubles with the technology? You can put and a comment in the chat.
So 20 out of 64 voted.
Yeah. So where does that leave us, Kritika?
32%.
Can I
There's a comment in the chat that's asking to go back to the candidate slide.
okay. Yeah, we can do that.
Only 32% have participated.
Okay. All right. I'm going to defer
David,
to, yeah,
yeah,
Alex.
yes, I can come in there. So according to our bylaws, we needed a quorum of 25 people to vote, which we have met. And of the 25, we needed a 51% simple majority. So I do believe with those figures, we have met the quorum.
Alex, we only
Okay.
have 22 who have
Oh.
voted
Out of 65.
out of 66 now. We still need 3 more people to vote.
Can I call for 3 more people to vote? Would anybody like the vote, the ratification thing put up again? We can't put it out to everybody because we vote twice, but anybody not voted who didn't see it in time? I'm not sure you can do that, could you? Or not?
No. Okay, we need
We'll
2
just-
more people to
Mm.
vote.
It's really quite important that we move forward with this because this is now the board of, this is the board that were voted. And what we're doing today is ratifying. So you're not actually voting for the board, you're just ratifying it. Because the board has already been voted for in the makeup that you see on the screen now. 2 more people.
2 more
That
people.
would be great.
Krithika, are you seeing the chat? Because it's saying that the screen is disappearing or something.
Anybody can't see the screen?
We just need 1 more person to vote.
Okay.
I think, Kritika, the people are saying that they cannot see the voting, the poll. Is it possible to launch it again, or will we lose the
Well,
results?
or will that
Yeah,
mean
we-
that we'll double ratify, which isn't constitutionally right, is it? Are you able to tell who hasn't ratified, Kritika? And if so, send the poll again just to those people, or is it either everybody or nothing?
Yeah, it's anonymous.
Yeah.
We just need 1 more person.
Yeah, Krithika,
One
I
more.
think some people are struggling with the technology of it because they can see the candidates but not the poll. So yeah, if you look at the chat, it does look a bit more. It says got it but cancel earlier. Anyway, just check at the chat.
What I think we can do, if we're just waiting for one person, perhaps if somebody who has not voted can put their name in the chat and vote in favor, and then we can consolidate so that we have that number.
because the only other option is to cancel it all and do it again, which we probably don't want to do, I think.
So now we have 26 people voted out of 66, that is 39%. And 25 have voted positively, so should I end
We
the
need
poll?
We need 26, do we?
Yeah, we do have 26.
Okay, so is that okay?
Yes, that is okay.
Great. All right. If anybody has particular concerns about that or didn't have a chance to ratify because their screen disappeared, please do get in touch
Okay,
with us.
I'm gonna
We'll
end the
work.
vote
Yeah,
and share the results. Thank you.
thanks, Christy.
Can you see the results?
Yes, thank you. So we had 93% ratify and 7% have abstained. And no one has said no, which is great. Lovely. Thank you very much, everybody. Okay, so this is my I should have said that this slate of candidates is in keeping with the bylaws, so we are happy with the mix of people we've got here. But as I said, you know, we'll always aim in the next nomination and voting process that the mix is as close as possible to the ideal of what we said in that previous slide. But if you have particular concerns, please do get in touch with us. So I'm going to now hand over and just say thank you for those of you who put your name up for nomination to the board. Congratulations to you all. I will see you on the board as well. And the ISWP team really look forward to working with you. So I'm going to hand back to Alex now, and he's going to introduce Eric. Thank you.
Super. Thank you very much, David, and congratulations to the new board. And apologies, everyone. This is our first AGM, and obviously there's some lessons learned that we need to take forward as we move forward and host further AGMs and further elections. But we are really looking forward to working with the new board. But David, before I move on and introduce Eric, I just want to say on behalf of ISWP and the entire sector, we want to extend our heartfelt gratitude for your exceptional leadership as chair of the founding board. Your guidance has been invaluable in steering this organization towards success. And you've not only been a mentor to me personally, but also a consistent source of positive influence on all of us. So with that being said, next I welcome Eric Wonderlich, ISWP's Secretary Treasurer, to report on ISWP's financial status. Eric, who is a consultant manager in the healthcare and disability programs under the humanitarian services of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, has been instrumental in helping us to put the financial practices in place to be sure that we are on a solid path financially. Over to you, Eric.
Thank you, Alex. So just a quick review of this financial report from 2023. You can see the revenue on the report, 688,000, most of which is comes from a UN Ops grant. And then in terms of expenditures, total of a little over 418,000. The two biggest expenditures for our staff salaries, including fringe benefits, and then last year a sub-award to the University of Pittsburgh for their ongoing services as ISWP transitioned to to a separate entity. So a net revenue of almost 270,000 last year, which puts ISWP in a good financial position at this time. So over to you, Alex.
Thanks, Eric, for being a terrific help in setting up and overseeing ISWP's finances. As you say, we are in good financial shape at the moment. And now we are just going to give you a bit of an overview of the work we have been doing since the transition from the University of Pittsburgh. But I think at this point, I would like to also acknowledge the support we receive from USAID to continue this important work. What you see in front of you is just our team. We're a small but very effective international team. And I would like to introduce my colleagues, Kritika Kandaval, who most of you know. She's one of the program managers. We also have Liz Botha, who recently joined us as an association coordinator. And our very recent appointment has been to Beth Sheehan, who's also a program manager that's going to be supporting the advocacy and resource mobilization efforts. So ISWP undertook a rebranding exercise last year, and together with the board, we revised the mission, vision, and we refreshed the logo and color scheme, and brand guidelines have been developed for ISWP. The new branding has been applied to all the ISWP collateral and our products, and we do appreciate the new look, and we hope that you like it as much as we do. I'm now going to hand over to my colleague Kritika to update you on the website and some updates on the accomplishments. Kritika.
Thank you, Alex. So last year, ISWP embarked on a website redesign project with assistance from a firm called the Commerce Edge. They helped implement our new branding guidelines, giving us a refreshed look, including a customized dashboard for the learning management system. Our website is equipped with accessibility tools to ensure that it is inclusive and user-friendly for all visitors. The website's functionality was enhanced to ensure optimal performance across various devices and browsers, catering to the diverse needs of our global audience. Overall, the redesign focused on improving the user experience, ensuring that visitors can easily find the information they need and engage with ISWP's resources and initiatives more effectively. Moving on, listed here are some of our key achievements from last year. So we collaborated on wheelchair trainings with Ibero University in Mexico and the Wheelchair Project in Thailand. We provided bulk certification to all participants who completed trainings with WHO Ukraine and Bethany Kids in Kenya. We signed 2 memorandums of understanding with Gato and Flying Disabled. We became a part of the World Rehabilitation Alliance and engaged in the workforce stream. We collaborated with WHO and ISPO to launch the wheelchair provision guidelines. Last year, I'm happy to report that we also actively participated and presented our work at 8 conferences and meetings across 6 countries. Now I'll hand it over to Alex to discuss the membership updates. Over to you, Alex.
Thank you, Kritika. So ISWP recently launched a membership campaign. ISWP is now a standalone entity, and as such, we need to introduce other income streams, which is one of the reasons why we've decided to launch the membership campaign, and also to ensure that we provide information, the right information to the right people. So we recently updated our membership categories, and what you see in front of you are the 2 broad areas that we work in. So at an individual level, the categories are broken into individual, associate, and community members. And at an organizational level, we have companies, educational institutions, international NGOs, and NGOs as well. What you see on this slide are the various benefits to being a member. I'm not going to go into detail of all the benefits, but the benefits range from being able to participate in the committees or stand for board elections, or opportunities for training or discounts on certifications. A huge incentive to being an ISWP member is that one can be part of the wider ISWP community. And by that, I mean that one can participate in one of the committees. Currently, there are 6 committees, and these are responsible for the activities that you see on the screen. Most recently, the Governance and Nominating Committee was quite active this year and the latter part of last year in evaluating the nominations and selecting the slate of candidates that you voted on and voted on the results today. The Certification and Recognition Committee, the Product Quality and Reliability, and the Workforce Committees are active currently, and the Advocacy and Resource Mobilization and Finance and Audit Committees are soon to be launched. And during the course of the year, we will be campaigning for additional members for each of the committees, and we do hope that you will respond to this call. I think it's really important for us to recognize that even though we are a small team, we work with hundreds of volunteers on all these committees. And at this point, we just want to express our gratitude to all the volunteers. Many of you are on the call today that participate in these committees and help to bring about the change that we want in the sector. So ISWP launched the new website, which we have promoted and which you have seen a bit earlier. There is a new registration process, and we do recognize that there was some difficulties with certain people around the registration process, but we wanted to clarify here that the old credentials do not work on the new website. The reason being is that members need to opt in and select membership types. At the moment, we are offering free membership from the time we launched the membership categories early March, and right up until the end of this year. Membership will be free, but membership dues will become effective from 1 January 2025. But don't worry, if you do not select an option and we're part of our community before, members will automatically be converted into what we call community members. And these are members that will have limited access to the products and services, but will not actually have voting rights. And unless you become an active paying member, then you will have access to the various products and services. One of the things that we recognize is that there's a lot of organizational change taking place. And was way too much for us to cover in today's AGM. But what we're going to do is we're going to host an upcoming webinar where we'll delve into these various membership categories, the fees, and showcase some of the features on our website. So please do stay tuned for more details that will be on our website, our social media platforms, and also through the networks. So we thought it was very important to just take a step back and to focus on some of the activities or focus areas that we need to build on as ISWP moves into this next phase. The focus for the coming years is to build integrated and resilient health systems that provide appropriate equipment that are aligned to ISWP's mission and vision. Specifically, we'll be focusing on building regional capacity through the introduction of either regional or local chapters that focus on knowledge transfer through supporting of regional seating symposia. The second area we want to look at is growing the membership base so that we can reach everyone and build the energy for change across the sector. We also want to promote and scale up training and certification, and we want to do this by working with local training partners. ISWP has some sophisticated and very comprehensive training packages on our website, but we recognize that they are equally really good training partners that understand the local context, and we want to work with you. And alongside that, we want to try and scale up the ISWP certification, both at the basic and the intermediate level, as well as the trainer of trainers. There are a lot of opportunities to do this, and you know we will be looking forward to collaborating with many of you. And finally, we want to focus on product quality and reliability. Now, this is focusing on standards development, as well as building capacity on repairs and maintenance, but also looking at local production. These are topics that we frequently get asked to develop more standards or content on from our members, and we think that this is an area that we really need to make sure that there's adequate training and development in these particular areas. That's not to say that there are not other areas that we will be focusing on, but just to give you in a nutshell, these are the 4 sort of areas that we want to build on, and with the new board kind of expand and start to build work areas or work programs around these areas. I'm now going to hand over to David for his last remarks as the outgoing chair.
Thank you, Alex. Alex asked me to do this because I felt, or we felt, that it was good to sort of put in context what today's meeting means. That we now have an ISWP that's fully independent. We have a membership launch, and we have a new board, a real board rather than a founding board, which is sort of an interim thing. I felt I should step down after almost 4 years of the forming committee, 1 year of that, and then 3 of the founding board chairmanship, to give another person a chance to do that. And I felt, as I'm also ISPO president, that it was pretty clearer that the lines of demarcation was important as well. And I continued to be ISPO president until June 25. Yeah, and I just want to say this picture here is sort of where it all started for, well, me and motivation. The guy standing up on the left with his hand on his hips is Simon Gue. And what we're doing here, that's me. Luckily, I'm turned around so you can't see how young I looked. Presenting to the judges our wheelchair design competition design when we were at the Royal College of Art in London in 1989. And the judges there are from the departments of automotive and also 2 external people. And the chap seated on the left ended up as a wheelchair user himself in later life. He had polio, which is why he's sitting down from the age of 16. He was Lord Snowdon, who brought the idea to the college that year, which was complete chance that I happened to be there in the design department. And the brief was for everybody in our department and also in automotive: design a wheelchair for developing countries. There was no guidance, there was no aim of prices or anything like that to go for. You just had to go out and find out for yourself what you felt was appropriate and the way to do it. Of course, this was 1989, way before Google and the internet. So Simon came up to me and said, look, I've traveled around Asia and Africa a bit. You obviously know a bit about wheelchairs. How about we team up? And this is us about to win the prize that sort of took us to India and Bangladesh. And we were invited back to Bangladesh in 1991 to start building wheelchairs, of which we knew really very little, if I'm honest. But what we found was that it was sort of the Wild West, if you like, and our mission was about locally available materials. And over the next 30 years, we realized that actually it wasn't just about our work, and it was we were a small NGO of 3 of us. We registered as a non-profit and went on to start different projects. And in 93, went to Cambodia, where we were noticed by some of the bigger players. And over the years, got better and better known, mainly because of the quality of the staff we had. The team we built up was fantastic. They were clinicians, and we really looked at not only the design sides, but the service and the training side as well. And that was absolutely key to us. You couldn't just give away a wheelchair. You had to think about the person and how it was going to be assessed for, fitted, and how you were going to do that with in a country where there may be no even profession of such as occupational therapy or a physiotherapist. and they may not have the training. So how do you do that on a very basic level? We managed to get WHO involved, and we started after about 15 years to look at the bigger picture stuff. So it wasn't just about what we were trying to achieve as an organization, it was the bigger picture. And out of that move really came the original guidelines in 2008. And we've got a lot of thanks to give to ISPO for a start, for holding a consensus conference for us, USAID who funded it, and WHO and Chapal Kasnabis who really took the lead and pushed this through to produce the guidelines in 2008. And that was a watershed moment for the wheelchair sector. So what you're seeing now is really the results of a lot of organizations coming together, a lot of organizations who didn't agree with each other. And as I said, it was the Wild West. Anybody went over to a country and did whatever they liked in terms of provision. And at the end of the day, the user might benefit, but a lot of the times they suffered because of poor provision. Thankfully, today, I feel that is a very different situation, and people have much more, even if it's not an ideal service, they have much more understanding about the way to provide wheelchairs. Now we have the latest guidelines that have just come out last year, which are there for the whole world, not just for less resource settings. So I'm going to step down from this role, which I've really enjoyed. I'm not really a committee person, but I have really enjoyed this. I'm more of a get out and do it person. I started this when I was 29. I'm a little over double that now. So it's been an amazing journey, and being involved with ISWP has been great. So thank you very much, and I look forward to working with the rest of the board. Thanks.
Thank you, David, for sharing that that touching story. And again, we just want to, on behalf of the sector, express our deep gratitude for people like yourself for the efforts that you put in, so that we can actually be at the stage where we have ISWP as an organization that can sort of help to coordinate and develop things further in the sector. You know, there is still so much more work that needs to be done, but if it wasn't for the efforts for people like yourself and the colleagues in this photo, you know, the situation would be much more challenging. And I think that now we have the mechanisms to be able to push forward in these areas. It is to the, it is our gratitude to people like yourself and the colleagues for getting us to this stage. And yeah, like I say, I cannot thank you enough for all the efforts that you've put into ISWP and into myself as I've taken over this role. You know, obviously we will still have you as part of the board, but again, as a chair, I just want to say as part of the team and the University of Pittsburgh colleagues, our deepest thanks and gratitude for everything that you have done. Now that we have got the matters that were on our agenda, we'd like to open the floor now to any other business that members would like to discuss. We hadn't actually thought about how we would do this, so we do have about 20 minutes left for the meeting. What I suggest is if you could put your hand up if there's a particular topic that you would like to discuss, and then we can unmute and take it forward.
Alex Lee Kirby has raised his hand.
Thank you, Nancy. Apologies, I didn't see that. Lee, over to you.
Well, I just wanted to add my congratulations and appreciations to all of you involved from the beginning and to realizing this very historic moment. in the history of ISWP. It's been a pleasure to be part of it, and I look forward to working with you over the coming years. My only caution, I guess, is that all of the background work that's been done by several of the committees is able to proceed in a regular and prompt manner. There's a lot of good work that's been going on, but not all of it has come completely to fruition quite yet. Thank you again. It's really marvelous to see.
Thank you, Lee. And again, yeah, thank you for all your efforts as well, working on the Workforce Committee and the Certification and Recognition and the previous Professional Standards Board. And I think that is a good reflection for us as we move forward.
Go ahead, Mansoor.
Hi, I'm Mansoor from Pakistan. First of all, thank you very much for sending the frequent invitations of joining this annual general meeting. This is a very good thing to know more about ISWP and its business. I was just concerned if this, apart from this annual general meeting, there can be some type of interaction with the members, or you have already mentioned that there are categories of member, associate and individuals. So how can these members be involved in some kind of quarterly or some periodic achievement meetings, discussions where these people are well informed, though we are following the website and social media. Anyways, my interest, because I've been following ISWP 2015 when it was formed with Maria Toro and other friends we were in Kenya. So in these 10 years, 20 years, I believe there are a lot of accomplishments by ISWP. So if there is any kind of plans like where these journal members, apart from the members who have been selected, they can be more participating. Are there any opportunities planned in a year, as you were telling about the type of committees? Thank you.
Thank you, Mansoor. That's a really good reflection. And indeed, there will be opportunities and calls that will be going out as I'll start to unpack those programmatic areas. We'll definitely be putting out calls for volunteers to join that. But equally, we'll be doing a recruitment drive for growing the various committees. At the moment, the committees are very small, and we've purposefully kept that as we try to build the terms of reference and make sure that we have a good understanding of where the committees are going, and making sure that it is aligned with the new ISWP mission and vision. But I've made a note that we need to do a little bit more in terms of engaging members. Thank you. I'm actually having difficulty seeing who has their hand up. So Kritika, maybe if you could direct if you see any others. Okay, I think if there are no further comments or any other business, I think we can actually come to the close of today's meeting. I just want to say a massive thank you to everybody for taking the time to join us today. We are finishing a bit early, so I am giving you about 15 minutes back in your working day. We really appreciate all your involvement, and ISWP will continue to grow with your support. So thank you very much for attending. We look forward to continuing to serve with you, and I'm going to adjourn our very first ISWP meeting. I wonder if it's possible for those who can actually put their cameras on, can we please switch on your cameras, and then we can take a screenshot just for our records, seeing as this is, I'm not even sure if we'll even fit on one screen, but if it is possible for those who can, please switch on your cameras so we can take a screenshot of that before we close. Wonderful. It's really good to see so many faces, so many familiar old faces and new faces too. Super. Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. Kritika, have you managed to just take a screenshot
I
of
have.
that?
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so thank you, everyone. And like I say, you've been given back 15 minutes of your day. So I wish you a good rest of your morning, afternoon, and evening, and we will see you soon.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Bye.